You might want to go to the other end.
Hello, hello. Do
Hello?
you hear me?
You might want to go to the other end.
Ah, the end. Okay, okay. Wait a minute. Well, does it seem better? Okay, okay.
Okay, so sorry,
Okay, I
sorry for the
found the
delay.
settings.
So
Wait a minute. How is working?
press way to I will control the slides, so you probably don't need to do anything.
Okay, I just speak when it needs me.
So sorry for the delay. Um, good morning. Um, so without further ado, let's get started. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone here, and thank you for coming to this keynote. I'm 30SK. I spell my name this way, usually with the street pronounced in Mandarin Chinese as insanity, making it SanTUSK. Some of you may have known my name already, but I'm not as active as before. As one of the charter members, today I would like to talk about the history of TeaCon in past 3 years and what we learned from it. Due to time constraints, I won't be able to cover every details here, and I will lean towards our technical background, so apologize for that. Today's keynote will be joined by USTC ZZZZ. You can call me 4Z. Another charter member who is in charge of a lot of things.
I am the person called 4Z by 3TUSK. What I'm ready to talk about today is related to part of the technical things of TeaCon, such as our infrastructure and several mods which have already been publicly available.
So without further ado, let's get it started. What is TeaCon after all? A quick summary is it's a blend of ModGem and BTM style online convention. Only speaking is that's an oversimplified definition, but it serves its purpose. We like to We'd like to see modders develop mods in given time interval and use a booth to show off their work, then let judges and players to rate them. Everything starts from a dream. I was in BTM 16, 16.2, Pico BTM and BTM Mu, only missed the very first BTM, BTM 15. This event deeply impressed me, but it left one single question in my mind: can we have something similar in the Chinese-speaking community? I once believed the answer was no. The problem is, while there are surely a lot of players, only a few of them are modders. To make the situation worse, these modders typically have a lot of matter to deal with in their real life. Many of them are students and have to prioritize exams. Some of them have jobs to do and bills to pay, and thus little to no time to spare. Here's an extreme example. Back in 2015, MCPBS, one of the largest Chinese language Minecraft communities, organized a mod jam event. Guess what? There was no submissions. Technically, there was one submission, but it was ineligible because it had been published in 2014. As a result, in the next couple of years, I always believe that we did not have enough people to make it possible. Situation improved in 2018 when another group tried the same. This time, it was NetEase, the company behind the localized Minecraft China. This time we did get a lot of developers, but it also spawned a lot of controversies. This event is not mod-centric either. They also had competitions for MEMS, resource packs, and bedrock add-ons, so it was not ideal to me either. Speaking of bedrocks, one thing worth noting is that we do have many people prefer playing on mobile devices than PCs or laptops. This adds one more uncertainty. Other than that, I was not aware of other attempts in the Chinese-speaking scene. TeaCon was born in the May of 2020 when everyone was sitting in front of screen because of the pandemic. Someone brought up the topic of mod jam again in a chit chat. While I was about to refute this idea, I suddenly realized that it's not impossible anymore. So let's make it happen, I thought. Item number 1, a name. I spent a day to think about a name and chose 茶会, means tea talk in Chinese. Then I did a mod and a dev before it. Then we got this full name 模组开发茶会. So it is. To make it even shorter, I picked TeaCon as our English name, which is just a tea and convention mixed together. Now it's like 25% down. I bought the domain and then invited some well-known people to be the charter members. But before I actually announced it, there had been one more thing to do. We need to know how the community thought about it. So we did a survey. Some statistics are shared here today. We got 792 answers. First observation is that for every 10 answers, 6 would say that they would just be audiences. 2 would say that they wanted to make mods. 1 would say they wanted to be judges, and another one would say they are not and they can't do anything. Second, there are many people who realized what we were trying to do and gave us the best wishes. Some people even really point to BTM. Oh wow. Next, there are also criticisms. One notable criticism I still remember today is that we should extend our event to half a year or even a full year because mods require time to polish. Otherwise, it would be just full of this reborn or that rebirth or even just trash mods, which is just simply not worth the effort. Then we have this version preferences. This question allowed multiple choices, so we get this result. 73.1% of all answers say they want 1.12.2. Half of the answers say 1.15.2, the latest at that time. 28.1% says 1.14, and 25.2 says 1.7.10. Should I do it a few years earlier, I would have expected 73.1% says 1.7.10 instead. Last but not least, on the issue of piracy. It's almost a half-half split. I won't go deep this because of time, but hopefully in the future. I will just continue. With all the with the survey data ready, we could finally kick off our first iteration, TeaCon 2020. We decided on 1.15.2 and Forge. Fabric had already been a thing at the time, but most of our team members were not familiar with it except me. So we stick with Forge to accompany Uh, Hello? Hello, good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone here. Um, should we should we continue?
Can you really quick re-equip the microphone?
Done.
Huh.
Could you hear me?
I can hear you.
And is my voice clear?
Sorta.
A little bit quiet.
Yeah, it's nothing is working. It's fine.
Nothing is working. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's been this whole con.
So I believe we were. This slide is where we stopped.
So let's start on the 11th.
So that's a quick intro for the TeaCon 2020, and our schedule. Schedule runs like this, and here we go. For your turn.
Okay, now could you all audience hear me? It's my time to
We can
introduce
hear
our
you.
infrastructure at that time. Okay, let's continue. It's my time to introduce our infrastructure at TeaCon 2020. Given our natures, we need specialized mods to do specialized tasks. In TeaCon 2020, we have created several mods such as Slideshow, which is a mod that displays web images, and Error Control, which is a plot management mod, Chrome Ball, which is a meme mod making my most commonly used avatar into a droppable item that players can throw away everywhere in-game. Nickname, which is a mod to allow you change your display name in-game. This was later abandoned because it caused confusion and management burden. Simple Permission, which provides a permission management system on top of the Forge Permission API. This was later replaced with LogPerms because LogPerms does it just right. All of them can be found in our GitHub organization. They are currently not available on either CurseForge or Moderains, however.
Let's get to the topic of issues we faced. One of the major issues we faced in TeaCon 2020 was that we wasted a lot of time manually doing things. Even the website was 100% written HTML. the mod list had to be manually updated. Not to mention that we need to build mods on our own. This was a time-consuming process. Fortunately, we only had around 20 submissions at that time. All and all together, we started our quest of automation since 2021. We'll dive into it later. Another issue was that our exhibition server got attacked. We spent like 2 days to confirm it was an attack, which utilized a zero-day vulnerability from the one probe. Pretty short, the one probe had a network packet which server would get data at the requested position and return to client. The one probe did not check if the position was in loaded area or not. You can see what could happen next. The result, server TPS dragged below threshold, letting the watchdog kill the server. Tons of chunks were created. Our saves exploded into 10 gigabytes each uncompressed. We spent another day to deploy the fix, contact MCJT to privately to get fixed upstream, and ran a quick post-mortem. Till today, we still don't know why it was worth using a zero-day vulnerability to attack our server, but the waiting for server, the placeholder text used by the one probe, became an insider joke since then. Last but not least, on the issue of awards and voting. We only had a dedicated judge team at the time, and it turned out that it was implemented very poorly. Many judges gave their result late and somewhat unprofessional, and some results are lack of professionalism, I have to say. Not only that, but also some words were simply impractical. Those words never came back. Voting was collected in a spreadsheet and counted manually. Well, I did use some functions to speed it up, but everything is still by hand largely. All in all, led to a fatal calculation error left unnoticed until the closing ceremony when I announced the result. Consequently, the voting process was reformed in 2021, which we will discuss later, briefly. So these are all we have for TeaCon 2022. TeaCon 2020. Preparation for TeaCon 2021 actually started in December of 2020, 3 months later after the TeaCon 2020 closing ceremony in September. After a few meeting sessions, we decided that we would use the 1.16.5 and the Forge. The opening ceremony was pinned on May the 1st. More development cuts between July and August, and the closing ceremony was pinned at a date before everyone returning to school. We decided that we would use a mandatory topic. We would give a lengthy prompt to explain the topic, hoping that this can help participants to think about what to do. The topic of TeaCon 2021 was a bit lengthy, but in a nutshell, it was small fictitious gadgets. We ended up with some rather big things though. We also decided to introduce an example mod. Put it this way, if TeaCon ourselves is also a participating team of TeaCon, then this example mod is what we will do. Not only it helps explaining our theme, but it also serves as a starting point for other models. One of the new issues we had in 2021 was eligibility. We required mods to be developed in a given time window since the beginning, as we are still largely a hackathon, but there there were an increasing number of modders who would like to take this opportunity to share their works. Also, mods from TeaCon 2020 would like a return. We'd like to see them return as well. Adding them together, we start to have this concept called show off out of kindliness. Mods under this category are not eligible for awards unless they appeared in past TeaCon sessions at least once. Now we are hitting the tech stack. Earlier I mentioned that manually doing things wasted a lot of time. To address this, we start to write a lot of things. I will hand the microphone to ZZZ. Hello, it's your turn.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to open the voice. The earliest and the most urgent need was a sign-up portal, which was also the first completed and deployed in the newly added infrastructure of TeaCon 2021. It's called 碧螺春. The name comes from a type of green tea. It was initially written in Python using Flask, later written in Go, a programming language officially maintained by Google. It uses Microsoft OAuth. We thought that we could then check if you have purchased the Minecraft Java edition, but Moyan started account migration only after TeaCon 2021 closing ceremony. Blame Mojang, I guess. It has a RESTful API. We were also RESTful too, because we got everything needed from API. Second thing, an automatic way to build submitted mod from source. This system is called Longjing, and yes, it is another type of green tea. It uses GitHub Action to build mods, so it is on GitHub. You see, link provided. This system is deeply integrated with 碧螺春, our signing up system introduced on the previous slide, and it has several duties besides continuous integration. First, it PGP signs mods. The signature would be used by another thing. Well, we will get there very quickly. Second, it does some automatic check. It will spawn a dedicated server with your mod installed to see if the server can start. It checks if your mod ID is still an example mod, which happened multiple times since there has always been someone forgetting to modify build.gradle file, as you all know. Third thing, a place to collect extra resources and data. We officially name it Packed User Exhibition Resources, or PUER, P-U-E-R for short. PUER is a type of dark tea. It is on GitHub too, so link provided here. Previously, PUER was also responsible for assembling server modpack, but that was moved to a dedicated service in 2023, aka this year.
Another issue we had in 2020 was server crashes. Well, we do anticipate server crashes. We, however, did not want crashes to delay Boost's building. To this end, we introduced the concept of mods promotion. It worked in this way. First, Longjing would build all mods. These mods would enter the first stage called test. The test stage includes a sandbox server where worlds are reset on each restart. We give this playground to modders to test out their mods before moving to the next stage. The next stage is called build, or sometimes prod. This is a boost building server and should have much less crashes. In 2022, we added one more stage called exhibition. This stage contains one or more replicas of the build. This protects the build from accidents or deliberate vandalism.
Let's talk about our infrastructure modes. In TeaCon 2021, they also had new members. First is Remote Sync, a mode updater based on FML. Every time the game starts, it will fetch the latest mod list, download the mod, download the PGP signature by Longjing, check the signature, and finally pass the mod to FML. While it certainly fulfilled its purpose, it also caused a lot of new issues. Because of these new issues, we dropped Remote Sync and started using PegWiz this year. Everyone listening here might be familiar with PegWiz already. Then we have VoteMe, which allows players to vote for their favorite mods in Minecraft. It is powered by Redis and is data-driven. Also, signing up. An in-game travel guide tells you where are all the booths. It is not a minimap mode because it doesn't really include a minimap, but many players think it should. Last but not least, we have Isle, our custom world generation. This is how Isle works. It generates an isle with all biomes on it. Outside of the isle is an endless sea. Since biome distribution is random, we would try multiple times to actually find the seed with all biomes needed. In fact, it may take hundreds of times.
Now getting into new issues. We also used some third-party mods, but sometimes they can break. This time we had a broken word edit. All commands from word edit would stop working after running the reload command, and we used the reload command a lot. Usually we could fix the issues on our own, like what we did back in 2020 for the one probe, but the word edit was a special case. Its project structure was way too complex. Of course, if word edit had still been maintaining its 1.16.5 version, we wouldn't have needed to care much about it. We ended up with restarting server every time we need to run reload command. So, do. Another issue was the careless entity selectors. Combining with the kill command, one could cause catastrophic damage to the booth building server. This caused several save rollbacks. To minimize the impact, we had a tool to extract only just entity data from a chunk data and merge them into the broken save, so we could do a partial rollback. But the issue was still not resolved until this year. We'll get back later. Fortunately, since later versions of Minecraft store their entity data in a separate directory, partial rollbacks have been much easier since then. Oh, also, avoid NBT selectors at all cost. Sorry for loud voice. These are major takeaways from TeaCon 2021. Next, TeaCon 2022. Preparation started in early 2022. We continued to using latest versions at that time, which was 1.18.1, then later 1.18.2, and we were still on Forge. The theme, which can also be called topic for 2022, was fire. Clearly, there were influences of Elden Ring, but in reality, we had a lot of mods mixed into the vanilla furnaces. As a comparison, only 2 or 3 mods in TeaCon 2021 used the mixing, excluding infrastructure mods. We still ran on the May to the August schedule. We continued to offer an example mod for reference. This time, Cannon Fire. It added a cannon. This cannon shoots players into the sky. Falling damage is avoided, so we use this as a transportation tool. This is how it looks like. In addition to the example mod, we also made a modding tutorial. It's called 正山小种, and it's a type of black tea. This tutorial is intended for anyone who like to join but had no modding experience before. It is designed in this way. Copy this and copy that, and then it should work. Well, maybe it worked as expected. We still like a feedback on this one. Then we hit by this unthinkable issue. The opening ceremony was flooded with more than 200 players. For comparison, the last time we had more than 100 players was when we opened the exhibition server in 2021. All other times, we only had peaks at around 60 to 80, and for regular times, it's significantly less. It's significantly less. This was how it looked at the stage at that time. Literally not enough seats. The server was killed by Watchdog after about 4 or 5 minutes. It is worth noting that we could not find a screenshot that literally does say more than 200. Only this one with 190 players. Pretty close though. So after the opening ceremony, we quickly started the post-mortem. The key question was, how could we handle this many players? We happened to have the author of Arclight, a Forge Bucket server hybrid in our advisor team. He proposed a solution based on setting up replicas. First, we would have 4 servers. Each one of them is a copy of a build server. All 4 servers would run on Arclight and put behind Lightfall, a fork of Waterfall that adds proper Forge support. It requires a client mod to actually proper works though. Then on Lightfall, we have an algorithm to distribute players evenly among replicas. Finally, with a mod called Phantom, all players can see each other from different replicas. The majority of staff members voted in favor of this setup, so it was adopted. We also decided to switch from screen command to Docker Compose to run servers. It serves as a primitive way to do replica orchestration, and it provides some level of sandboxing. However, it was later revealed that we still had to use a lot of ad hoc bash scripts. As for other infrastructure mods, this year we had 3 new mods: Power Tool, XK Deco, and Xibao. Power Tool is just a toolkit of useful things. For example, item display, text display, a command block that repeatedly does things on its own in given interval, an infinite power source, decoration safe vanilla hoppers, and much more. As for XK Deco, it's a decoration mod originally created by XEKR, a texture artist and resource pack creator. We commissioned to port this mod away from MC Creator. As for Xibao, it's a bit tricky to explain, but it does this. It changes the background of the disconnection screen. This texture is a meme. The word Xibao roughly means good news in Chinese, but this template is often used to express bad news or trivial matter instead. In TeaCon 2022, we later changed this texture to blue screen of death via resource pack. We also added some instructions on what you can do when disconnected. Back in TeaCon 2021, there was a mod adding trading cards and an accompanying collection book. The author said the author of side mod also organized an unofficial card collecting activity. Inspired by this, we rolled out our own official collection event in TeaCon 2022. We had 34 Fire-themed items to collect. It clearly had influence from Dark Soul. As for a result, we found that most items were easy to find, but still some items were a bit obscure to find. Some were gated behind minigames, but those games were tricky. We also had to learn that it costs a lot of time to organize such an event. We will need to plan ahead if we want it next time. Speaking of mini games, TeaCon 2022 had more mini games than 2021 or 2020. This led to the issue of quote cheating quote. The reason I use quote is that the situation is more like unexpected mod interactions instead. In short, there are mods offering flying capability, and there are games such as parkour. Adding them together means that you could not complete the game in an unintended way. We're still in trial and fail stage on this issue. We had made area control capable of prohibiting the possession of certain items in certain areas, and we requested modders to notify us if they are adding alternative transportation methods. We will continue to explore alternative solutions. And a classic issue, shaders. So there are many people who would like to do a recorded tour and share the videos. Among those people, the majority of them want shaders. The issue was not that outstanding because not many modders were dealing with rendering at that in the past. We all know that it can be very daunting when it comes to conflicts with shaders, especially Optifine. Not to mention that we are still on Forge, which means that we only have occludes, not the original arrays. For now, all we could do is to provide help as much as we can, though oftentimes very limited. I wish one day we could have a practical guide on how to be compatible with shaders, but that's still a far-fetched goal. With all past experiences, we managed to barely hold our ground and host our fourth iteration event this year, TeaCon 2023. Yes, it is still ongoing right now. Right now, we have passed the mod development deadline, which was on August 2nd, and there are people working on the booth building server at this very moment, I guess. Our exhibition server will open to public on September 20th, about 1 week before 中秋节 or the Mid-Autumn Festival. This year we had a lot of extraordinary situations. First, when we held our first planning meeting back in January, we decided to use 1.19.4, but the Muyang released 1.20 early June. We had no choice but to follow, which means all the mods had to be updated. Second, about a month after the opening ceremony, new Forge was born out of Forge. This time, we are simply too late to move. We do not want to cause more confusion to all participants. This year's topic is 热闹, meaning lively, vibrant, or liveliness. The example mod we have this year is a long boat with Ender Dragon head on it instead. The reason is that our opening ceremony was close to 端午节, also known as the Dragon Boat Festival. It's a traditional Chinese holiday. The slide contains a banner art created by有理的猫. We had a revamped team structure this year. Previously, we didn't really have a formalized team structure. We only had some conventions. For example, I might be assigned for mod development or server operation, but never for chat room moderation. This year, we pretty much just cement these conventions by creating different task forces. Different task forces have different duties, and they don't need to worry about each other. Well, in practice, sometimes we still need collaboration among different teams. We might need to review this setup in future too.
We also had a major overhaul of our server architecture this year. We introduced a lot of new components, including without limit to drone.io, Kubernetes, Grafana, Prometheus, and so on. This diagram demonstrates how complex the architecture is. It consists of many parts, in addition to Longjing, Biluchun, and Pu'er, introduced in TeaCon 2021. It also includes an image packaging service, a package-based modpack manifest generation service, a download service for mod dependencies, and multiple pods running Minecraft servers which are managed by Kubernetes. Besides, it contains a Redis server, a PostgreSQL server, a system based on Prometheus for collecting matrices, and a log collection and analysis system based on FluentBeat and Grafana Loki. All with a single objective, easy automatic server scaling and monitoring. Honestly, this diagram is too complicated and we may need some time to make it easier to understand. As for Grafana, we use it to monitor server data such as milliseconds per tick and online player count, view server logs, and even sign-up stats. This Grafana screenshot shows that how many players stayed on one replica, and it takes average 5.8 milliseconds to perform a tick.
We also expand our mod promotion track to 5 stages. It's pretty much the same as before because the 2 new stages, dev and stage, don't have many jobs attached to them for now. Unlike 2021 or 2022, this year we carefully selected a void as our terrain. This is more attempt to see if we can solve issues with natural terrain. Since we are still building the booths, we'll see how it ends up.
Infrastructure modes are still growing. Our plot management mode, error control, is now capable of stopping rogue selectors from targeting innocent entities. With an additional mode, command confirm, we should be able to keep out the rogue Q at E command once and for all. Check me in is a mod to guide players visiting booths by using check-in points. It was finished a few weeks ago, so more details will come later. 公道Bay is responsible for service discovery and load balancing. It has 2 parts, one Forge mode and a bungee cord plugin. We also have the ZProv mode to bridge the Minecraft servers and Kubernetes.
We have filtered out many common crashes by various automated checks, but it seems like crashes are also evolving. This year, we saw a spike in crashes related to bad network packets. These bugs are hard to figure out, and we usually resort to binary search to locate them. We'll see if we can somehow automatically check these kind of issues. Last but not least, this year we set up a knowledge base to collect our documents. Previously, it was scattered all over the places without clear indexing. With this knowledge base, we can do a lot of things, such as hosting our curated FAQ, the documentation of our mods, how to do this and how to do that. We can also directly open some documents to public, which improves our transparency. Since TeaCon 2023 is still ongoing, this will be the last part of our keynote, our future. Honestly speaking, we don't have many expectations. All of us are grown-ups and have either schoolwork or jobs to do. So really, the hardest part is to hold our ground. After we make sure we are still here, we would keep learn from mistakes, try new things, and hire more talents to share our workload. Some key fields to work on include player experiences and how to make more people know of those actually good mods. If we can get the right people to help on this, that would be magnificent. Oh, there's also the diversity issue. I think it has been asked again and again since day one in many different ways. When will support Fabric? Do you accept the Fabric mods, Qt, Barbecue plugins, databases, or even command blocks? The answer to this is we need much more time and resources if we ever want any of these options. Or you know what? We are eager to see a competitor. I mean, a competitor from the Chinese-speaking scene. I'd like to end this keynote with a Chinese proverb, which reads as follows: "Blue is obtained from the indigo plant, but it's bluer than the plant itself. Ice is made from water, but it's colder than the water itself." I believe with our lessons and mistakes will be the stepping stone to success for our competitors. So thank you for listening to this prolonged keynote. Feel free to ask any remaining questions now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me check. Well, it's very late, and the conveyor belt doesn't have any books on it, so I will just wait for a while. Yeah. One of the reasons I would like to do this keynote is to have some introductory talk with BlanketCon people, so that we can actually learn something from it, and hopefully BlanketCon can also learn something from us as well. Yes, thank you. Much appreciated. Yeah, it was a last event for the BlanketCon 2000, BlanketCon 23 day there. Yeah. How BlanketCon handle this many players without sharding? That's a question. I believe that's a question is better to leave to BlanketCon people.